patriots. Nigeria call obey to serve our fatherland. We love and strength and faith. The labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain. To serve without our minds, one nation bound in freedom. In freedom. In freedom. Peace and unity. Arise, my people, arise, my
Thank you so much for watching. Thank you. Have you subscribed? Yes, you. Have you subscribed? You. Yeah, before you go, click. It's free. Click. Just that's it. Have you subscribed? You are laughing. Have you subscribed? Have you subscribed? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, madam. Thank you so much. I can see you. I can see you. We have to get to 100,000 subscribers. This by the end of the year. How are we going to do that if you don't subscribe? Yes, you. Yes, you're about to click off. Why? Have you subscribed? It's free. If you don't, ask your son, ask your daughter how to. Just one click. Thank you. Thank you. I see you. Aha. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'll see you tomorrow. Just one click. Thank you. Thank you. I see you. Aha. Thank you very much.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on your geographical location. Welcome to today's wonderful broadcast. It's been a wonderful day. It's a day that every one of us should be glad to be alive. And as you can see the heading, it is the UK government rejecting or the rejection of the UK government in respect to Sunday Igboho's petition for a Yoruba nation. As we know, there is nothing wrong with the agitation for self-determination or self-actualization. It is encouraged. However, when I saw this thing on social media, I was taken a little bit aback. And I said, okay, this is a conversation we need to have for enlightenment purposes. And also to stress or buttress the point I've always been making, that the answer is in our hands. And most people have also made that statement that the answer is in our hands. It also brings down the point, the song by Emancipate Yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free what? Our own mind. Taking a petition to the United Kingdom, for the United Kingdom to recognize the Yoruba nation is a sad thing, because we sit down here every day. Some of us come here every day. We lament, we condemn, we say the Western world treating us, don't want us to develop. However, we have the opportunity to develop ourselves. We're taking our matter to the Western world. So really, it surprises me. This is not about the Yoruba people. So it's not concentrated on tribe or for thing, because it could be another name. It could be Electricity Nation. It could be Everybody Loves Electricity Nation. It could be Rudolph Nation. But why would you take a petition or make a petition to a UK government to recognize what? The Yoruba nation. where the president and lawmakers of the country are there. If this effort is channeled towards my national anthem, Section 60, 69, 110 of the Constitution, I believe we would have seen a change in our country, our dearly beloved country. And it saddens my heart. Saddens my heart in the sense that, so we can go this far, we can do this, but yet we are not prepared to do it in the country that we claim to be ours. So let's go by this argument. So when should the UK government now recognizes the Yoruba nation as a nation, what happens next? Would it not be a case of giving them the opportunity to now start to influence your policies? Something we claim is happening in Nigeria, and we cry over it. We say they don't want us to grow, they don't want us to develop. And here is a nation. It beats my imagination when I hear such things. And I said, it's not only laughable, it's embarrassing to the intelligence of those who identify themselves as part of the Yoruba nation. It's an insult. And until they come out to say, okay, this is not us, this is Sunday Igboho's own handiwork, they have nothing to do with it, then it's going to rub off on them a lot. Then those who come on the platform here, which is freedom of speech, entitled to it, and is recognized, saying that the UK government is influencing the Nigeria or Africa, they don't want them to go. How would you describe you now going to them to recognize your nation? Why can't we solve this? You see, we may not like him, we may hate him, we may dislike him, we may say he's a tribal man, but we have to give Kanu a credit. We have to give him a credit because he's fighting his own war, its own battle in the nation. And yet he may have reached out to the UK government, he may have reached out, but the Biafra nation that is asking for, the battle is being fought on the soil of the country. So when Scotland wanted to break away and be a nation, who did they go to? Did they come to Nigeria to ask the Nigerian government to recognize them as a nation? Or did they even go to, let's forget about Nigeria, they definitely will not come there. Did they go to the United Nations to say the United Nations should recognize them as an independent nation? Where did they go? So if they didn't go to United Nations, they presented their petition to the parliament and to the queen as at then she was still alive, may also rest in peace. But you see the Yorubas or people agitating for self-actualization or determination to be a nation, taking their petition. Is there any wonder? The song says, emancipate yourself from mental slavery, none but ourselves can free our own minds. Why should they? You see, no matter how we view it, whether it's for him to be seen popular or for it to trend or for social media views or not, it's not good to the ear and also to the sight. And until we come to that point to start taking responsibility for our actions and inactions as well too, before we start to see a change in the country. Why would you do that? So here it is. If the UK government recognizes it, so Tinubu will now say, yes, pass a law, this is now a Yoruba nation. Then the Biafrans also will go there, and also the Biafrans also will be a Biafra nation. Come on. How long are we going to continue with this mental slavery? Slavery of the mind. Slavery of the mind. How long are we going to continue in this trajectory? If the effort, I'm trying to play the video, but it's kind of acting up. If the effort they put in that campaign they had, in that campaign they have, I don't know whether it's in front of the parliament, but they have it in the UK. If that half of that effort can be put in recalling officers, in addressing such protests is taken to the front of the Aso Rock, I believe it will make sense. And there they are dancing. They even saw how did they call it? It's Ashwebi, if I'm using the right word, or if we fit it into what is going on. They have to saw Ashwebi for what? For such, in my opinion, foolishness. Let's take a listen at the video. Let's see. I pray. Let's take a watch. Okay, it's taking a while for it. It's telling me my device is having trouble sharing this video. I don't know. Well, we'll take a short break, and we'll be back after this short break.
So compatriots, Nigeria's call obey to serve our fatherland, we love and strength and faith. The labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain. To serve with heart and might, one nation bound in freedom, peace and unity. Hey, that's so. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Alright, so compatriots, Nigeria call obey to serve our fatherland. We love and strength and faith. The labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain. To serve with heart and might, one nation bound in freedom. In freedom. In freedom. Peace and unity. Arise, my people, arise, my people. We love and strength and faith. With all our hearts and minds, we from about to go be down to from Warri to Lagos.
Thank you for joining me back again, and we continue with the broadcast as to, in respect to Sunday Igboho petitioning the UK government to recognize the Yoruba nation. What is about the Yoruba nation in the first place? What do they want? Different from what other nations are. Why can't this petition be filed in Nigeria? Why do they have to go all the way to the United Kingdom to file a petition? Is it the case that they don't even have confidence within themselves to push for this to push this agenda even through what? Through the chambers, the red and blue chambers that we have. And it's saddened, like I said, it's saddened my heart for us too, that we have to come to this point of still, they call it a dependency syndrome. So how do we break away from this dependency syndrome? I put it up there. Dependency syndrome, depending on what? On the Western world. We can't seem to do things for ourselves. As if we can't think, as if we can't act, we can't call their bluff off. Why? I keep asking myself. So when I saw it initially, I had to listen to the video to say, what is going on? I mean, the president is a Yoruba man. So he doesn't even recognize the Yoruba nation. So for Sunday Igboho and his group to go to the United Kingdom is a slap and an insult on even the president of the Republic of Nigeria, which is, as we know, Sir T-Pain. And it's a shame that this is it, the dependency syndrome. Thank you for joining me, Dr. Alex Gomez. I was, I'll yield the floor to you, sir. I know you usually do so long, so you go ahead, sir.
I don't have much to say. The country's in dire straits. The country's upside down. Look, I'm eating my words here. Tinubu never had the capacity based on his health issues. And I'm speaking from a vintage position here. I need to say that. Based on his health status to turn the country around. The kind of information that is filtering through me is mind-boggling. I can't even share with anybody. It's so sad. It's sad, and the people are suffering electricity. I heard someone say yesterday that I think it was a director of the central bank say yesterday that look, the policy that Mr. Cardoso is implementing right now is heading us towards the right direction, but with a caveat, it has to be ongoing for 15 years minimum to get us on the right track. 15 years minimum, really? So this is sad. I think at the end of the day, look, let me speak like a patriotic Nigerian here. I think he was all about status, so that he can have the name
his
president,
name on the record.
On record, yeah. I'll be bold to say it. I think it's the worst president we've ever had in Nigeria. And if we're not careful, I don't see a turnaround anytime soon. At least they opened their mouth yesterday and said it would take at least 15 years.
That is minimum. That is minimum. What's the maximum?
I don't know. So I don't know. Look, my heart breaks. I wish I had $1 billion at my disposal. I'll go to each and every home and give them money, so at least I can alleviate the plight of the people. Because this is totally out of order. I'm lost for words, and I'm not one to be lost for words. But I don't know nothing else to say. And this Nigerian nation, Yoruba nation thing is total crap. I mean, someone said on Dr. Rudolph's show this past weekend that, I don't know whether it was you or someone said it, and I thought about it. If you think America will come build the biggest embassy they've ever had in Nigeria, if they think they're just going to blow up in flames, that's not going to happen. That's why they're setting up that embassy over there. So I don't know. I don't know what else. I'm lost for words.
The petition. I mean,
let me call you back. I'm having a very important call. I'll call you right back.
All right.
Okay?
Thank you for joining, Dr. Gomez.
I'll call you back.
All right. Yeah. No problem. It's nice to have you back. Yeah, the suffering back at home, it's not easy, but the solution is in our hands. It's not anywhere. It's not in the hands of the UK government. It's not in the hands of the US government. It's not in the hands of the United Nations. The solution to our problem is what? Is in our hands. And then until we are ready to what? To use it, execute it, then we will continue to what? To run in circle or run like a headless chicken. No disrespect for my statement, please. And so I've said this over time. The disregard for our own constitution, the one important place I always mention. Imagine those group of people. They are, some of they can take this to their constituents or the constituency they belong to, and say, you know what, it's time for us to what? To bring this change, bring about this change that we talk about. It's time for us to. But no, what do? We're going what? They're going to the UK government to what? To recognize. And it's a good thing that they rejected it. And I hope when they will see this rejection as positive and go back home and what? And file this petition to what? To the chambers or to the president. As this is a question people should, the Yorubas who they claim to be representing, should be asking this, their so-called, pardon my apology for that, their so-called leaders called Sunday. I don't know if it's represented, but because none of them have come out to condemn. Thank you, Mr. Tony. Okay. I believe these Nigerian people will not kill us, man. Honestly, they will not kill us. How can somebody file a petition? The optics is very, very bad. No matter, even if it's doing it for viewership or for subscribership or is paid to do it, the optics itself is wrong. Can you not file this petition to our lawmakers for them to say, okay, we want this to be recognized? Can they not push for a referendum to be what? To be included in the Constitution beside the one that has to do with Section 68, 69, 110? Or is it that is paid to just do that display? The president is a Yoruba man. So, if seeing that the president is a Yoruba man, then their petition should what? Will be attended to with speed. Because during his campaign, he said the Milokan, our Yoruba Lokan. He's a Yoruba man. And this is why I keep saying that our problem is not tribe. Our problem is not ethnicity. Our problem is neither religion. We know what our problem is, but we dip our head into the sand. Mr. Antonio, okay, the floor is yours for you to weigh in on this subject. Thank you for joining me this wonderful evening. Tomorrow we're going to be having our midday sermon, and it is titled Emmanuel. It's a follow-up to the biblical leadership that we have. It's going to be very interesting. I'm taking it. Then on Friday, we're going to be having the debate about the Southwest versus Southeast government. I did the one responsible for the continued detention of Nnamdi Kanu. It was supposed to be held on Monday, but due to logistic reason, I couldn't hold it. So, Mr. Tony, the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you, listeners, viewers. I think I agree substantially with everything you have said as a background to this discussion. But let me first of all say that the right to self-determination is a fundamental right, fundamental principle of international law. So every people have a right to determine, their fate within whatever nation that they find themselves in. And that is guaranteed by Article 1, Paragraph 2, and Article 55 of the United Nations Charter. But that said, there is, I believe, there must be a channel through which you can do that. And Igboho's the submission of his request or whatever for a Yoruba nation to the Prime Minister or whatever of the UK is, to me, laughable in the sense that there are channels to do that. First of all, who is he representing? There's been a group, and this is even before the president came in. There's been a call for Yoruba nation, which is being pushed by a group of people. And one of them, apart from Sunday Igboho, is Professor Banji Akintoye. And then Sunday Igboho is also one of them. And as you can recall that Sunday Igboho has had an issue with the federal government over this same, the way he has carried about pushing this issue of Yoruba nation. Some months ago, we've had a lady who came on radio and made certain assertions to that same request, and I think I'm not too sure if she has been left off the hook of security agencies. But I think that the whole process it's a shame. It's wrong. If there is a consensus by the Yoruba people for a Yoruba nation, there are channels. They have representatives in the Senate and in the House, and there's a procedure by which such a request can be tabled, before the Legislative Assembly. So the legislature. So I think he didn't follow that process, and I think it's for me it's wrong. And like you said, the optics is not good for him to go to the UK. What does he expect the UK to do? UK cannot be seen to be interfering in what is strictly the internal affairs of our nation, and so it was right for him to for that request or whatever to be rejected, whatever it was requested or he was requesting from the UK. So it was right, and it is wrong. Like you said, the optics is wrong. And so that's my attitude to that. Now, whether the president is a Yoruba person or not really doesn't matter so much, because the demand has preceded the coming of the president of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the president. This demand has been on, and there's been some other demands too. And if you remember that during when the Biafra invaded the West and the Midwest, this was part of what we understand was intended. Midwest was declared the Republic of Midwest, and Major Kunko was made the administrator of Midwest. And the West was going to be declared Republic of Oduduwa before that effort was truncated and Biafra was pushed back. So it's not new, but whether this is the view of majority of Yorubas, whether Igboho is representing the Yoruba nation, as it were, the Yoruba people, is an entirely different matter. I think it's just.
Well, Mr. Tony, have you heard anyone come out or any of the Yorubas? Like, this is not about tribe or whatever. When I reference the president being a Yoruba president, but the purpose of saying that is if truly they are genuine, they are seeking for Yoruba nation, the president, I mean, should be able to sign it off. I know it has to go through a process, or they present it to the legislature. The way they do the budget, they present it to the legislators and everything. Before you know, the president will sign it off. So why are they not going through that process? And but have you heard anyone, Yoruba or otherwise, or in particular Yoruba, come out to condemn this action or to say that no, this guy is not representing us, he's speaking for himself? Because I think it's up to 48 hours now that this news has been trending on social media. And I've not heard, I don't know if you have heard anyone come out to condemn it.
Well, I haven't heard, but definitely I know that there are people who will condemn it because the process. I mean, why? I don't think anybody will be breaking the law if they call on their legislators to say, listen, we want a Yoruba nation. I'm not sure, because that's the principle that is recognized by the UN, and I'm sure that charter is domesticated even by Nigeria. So yes, there's a process. When Midwest was created out of the West, there was a plebiscite, and it was conducted, and the general consensus was that they wanted to their own state out of Western Nigeria, and so Midwest was created. So I think it just shows that things are not well in our country. It's an evidence that things are not going well, because it means that there are some group of people who are not satisfied with their continued stay in Nigeria as a people. So they want to pull out. And I think that the appropriate thing to do is to, seek the proper way, the procedure of that process, and then see it's debated, and if it's okay, they approve it. If it's not okay, I mean, they send it to the president. They debate it, send it to the president. Maybe if it's approved, shoot it down, or approve it, pass it over to the president for his accent. So, but that should be the legal process. And so, in my mind, it will appear that Igboho is just speaking for himself or a group of people, and not the entire.
The process is there. Like I said, section 68, 69, 110 of the Constitution tell us how the citizens or the constituent can recall their lawmakers back. So if they are to follow this process, it's there. All they need to do is to write a petition to the lawmaker that is representing them in their constituency, and that one in return will take the matter up on the floor. Just like one of the lawmakers that raised the motion to build the university and name it after Tinubu, that will be teaching languages, Nigerian languages. But let me highlight this comment here. Let's weigh in on this comment. This is from Florence O. She said, UK government rejected what exactly? I thought Sunday Igboho was just putting them on notice, not seeking their permission. I wish she could clarify exactly what she meant by putting them on notice. Notice for what? Why would they be putting the UK government on notice and not the Nigerian government? I'll leave you to weigh in on that, Mr. Tony.
The, the, the,
Notice
que-
on what?
the
Go ahead.
question the question is actually why UK? Why not America? Why not Nigerian government? What's the connection with UK? What I don't see why you should go to and not even going to the parliament, so I think there's still a lot that we don't understand that's going on. But of course, UK is not I mean that's why I didn't receive any hearing, because it's not taken seriously, because Igboho is just one individual, and we don't know. I don't know the contents of the letter. Other than that, it's a demand, it's a plea. Was he asking for UK support? Was like what you just read is putting them on notice? How? What? So I think that. The whole process is wrong and is condemnable, and it seems to put the country in a very bad light. If anything, there are processes, that you go through, for such a demand, and he didn't go through it, and so I don't think it's proper. But it still doesn't answer the question: why UK? Why UK? Why not, to his own representative, in the Senate or in the House, so that they can push it for him. And if they feel well disposed, they can debate it, So
yeah, thank you. She came back. The Florence said notification since the UK was primarily instrumental to the joining of the different nations that make up Nigeria. For crying out loud, what is all? When are we going to climb off this horse, Mr. Tony? When are we going to get off this horse that this idea or this joining together? Okay, listen, Mr. Tony, I don't want to be. I want to be a moderator and a panelist as well, too, because
well,
you go first, then I'll go after you.
in the demand for independence, it was not just the Igbos and the Hausas and so on that moved for the independence of Nigeria from Britain. We also had Yorubas, the old sage Obafemi Awolowo, and it was also played a key factor. So was Awolowo mistaken in pushing for a Nigeria, a country that is called Nigeria, that includes the Yorubas? Why didn't he push for a Yoruba nation out of that move at the time we were going for independence? Why didn't the various nationalists, ask for Nigeria, for that geographical entity that came to be called Nigeria, to be the way they were when the British came? The Igbo nation, the Yoruba nation, the Hausa states, all the other ethnic nationalities, So, but it begs the question. For me, like I said, it just points to the fact that people are not happy, people are disgruntled. People feel that the nation, the whole idea of nationhood, which the independence gave a lot of hope to, is not being realized. And so it's a sign that things are not going well. But is the answer going to be Yorubas pulling out from Nigeria? That's for for the Yoruba nation as a whole to determine.
Mr. Tony, let's look at the nation. What would they want different from what every other person's want? Good government, good governance, water, electricity, basic social welfare amenities. Why can't we push for days in called Nigeria, why the different wanting to Yoruba nation, Biafra nation, Oduduwa nation, because apparently we all want the same thing. Why can't we come together and push for it? Like you said, if the Yoruba nation breaks away now, with this, I say, pardon my language this evening, with that display of foolishness, which I personally call display of foolishness, I saw in that place, how would they be able to manage the so-called Yoruba nation? Because we come in, some of us come in every day complaining that the UK government, the American government don't want to leave us alone. And yet we are going to them. I don't understand. Help me to understand this thing, please. For those of you in the backstage, please, if you want to come on, you have to turn on your camera. And so please, if you're going to turn on your camera, you want to come on. If you don't want to come on, you let me know so that you don't occupy space for others who wants to join, please. So I want to get that just to put it out there. So thank you for joining, Jago. So I'll yield the floor to you, then I'll go to Mr. Tony. Okay, please.
Thank you. Thank you. I've been listening, and I think it's a fair topic that you bring to the table. For me, I'm not speaking on behalf of Sunday Igboho, and I don't recognize him necessarily as somebody who has any gravitas in terms of pulling the Yoruba people together. However, we've got to try and be honest in terms of all these agitations that go on, whether we approve of them or not. For me, the whole idea of Biafra, the name, everything, I just don't like it. However, I do appreciate their agitation. I also bring it down to the bare fact that all these agitations are escape Nigeria. The whole Jackpot syndrome is what Sunday Igboho is doing as individuals. We jackpot because we don't like or want the oppressive Nigerian regime sat on our head doing nothing. So bottom line is, all these agitations have to be respected for what it really is, which is we don't want Nigeria in terms of the way it's been for 60 years. It's been an oppressive, awkward, uncomfortable ride as a Nigerian. As far away as Nigeria as we can get, we are still uncomfortable because there is something called Nigeria and it's oppressive. So I think simply we have to see like that. There's no point in going into all these realms that take us away from what it actually is. Nigeria is the most uncomfortable country for the citizens of the country. And therefore, there are all of these kinds of agitations. If we can respect it like that, I believe we can open up a realistic conversation.
Okay, let me ask you this. Nobody is against self-determination or agitation, but the process in which we go about to achieve this is through the parliament, or I mean through the legislative arm, the red and blue chambers, then probably first to the secretary, then it goes to the president to sign off. Has that been made by
let me ask you a question back, because I hear your question, but do you think in real terms that anything will be achieved through the means you just underlined? I can't see it.
If it's pushed, it will be achieved.
You think so?
Yeah, I know so. If when we push,
you have a lot of belief in Nigeria. You have a lot of belief in the systems.
I recognize the problem in Nigeria. It's not different from having a personal problem in life. And how you go about it is to push and to see a change. Because if we continue to, in my book, we continue to make excuse that this is not achievable, and it will remain unachievable. But
no, I'm not saying it's not achievable. What I'm saying is that in the structure that we have in Nigeria, and the fact that we understand that the elite want the whole of Nigeria held together for fair enough reasons. We had the Biafra war. We went to war. The Igbos went to war to secede from Nigeria. They didn't even achieve it through war. So how are you going to achieve it through the ballot box? We got to be serious. I can't see what you're seeing, basically.
Okay, sorry, Mr. Tony. Give me an example. Give me an example. Cite an example of a representation having been made to the chambers in respect to this agitation.
I won't know if anything at all, but I understand and take on board your point. I would put it to you like this. If Nigeria was to break up in real terms, that somehow the powers that be got together and decided, you know what, we're going to separate. And this is how we're going to separate. With that kind of edict coming from the top, middle, and bottom, it's achievable. However, when there is absolutely no will at the top to do anything of the sort, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Me personally, I don't necessarily want it to happen. I want one Nigeria. If it did happen, however, I would suggest to you, since we're speaking about the Yoruba nation, I would suggest to you that it would be one, rather arduous, because there are Yorubas in Togo and Benin. And I don't think that those Yorubas want to change or move. So it will be a Yoruba nation that is basically cut out of Nigeria alone. Now, I ask you, if Nigeria did break up, and I know this is it's a question subjective, which country do you think would actually achieve success? If I put that to you, if the Igbos went their way, if Biafra or whatever, if the Yorubas went their way, if the Hausa went their way, and maybe they took on board some of the smaller nations if they wanted to join, but basically there was a separation. Which nation out of the Nigerian nations do you think would be successful? I'm asking.
Okay, I will let Mr. Tony answer that question first. Then I will answer after him, if that is okay with you. Mr.
Absolutely.
Tony, you answer the question first. Then I will answer I'll weigh into it. The floor is yours, please.
That's a difficult question to answer. Like I said, this is just a result of the frustration that some people feel about the nation. But the question is secession the answer? Will you solve whatever problems that is pushing that core? Because all over the country, if you take a census, you see that almost every group is saying, things are difficult. This is not what we expect. The direction we expect our nation to go. So there's a general frustration with the country as is today, and it didn't start today. If you remember, before when the push for independence was made by Tony and Nahoro in 1953 or so, 1950s. A section of the country did say that they were not ready, and if they are pushed, if they are pushed, they will succeed. So we have had habiliments of all these threats of secession. We're dealing with the one from the southeast. The Middle Belt has also had echoed that in the past. So I think that it calls for us really to particularly our leaders, to really sit down and take a look at all these issues of people, of the, injustice, of people crying for marginalization and all that. I mean, if you look at the Southeast, for instance, and this is fundamental too. You find out that all the regions have 6 states each, and even one region has 7. The Southeast has had 5 for a long time now. That means they are losing revenue from one extra state, from local governments, from all development that would have come if they had 6 states like all the other angles. And so they are crying marginalization. They have less senators, they have less representatives, they have less revenue, they have, and so on and so forth. They have less roads, less universities, and so on, by virtue of the fact that they have just 5 states. So these are all part and signs of the fact that people are not happy and they are reacting individually.
Sorry, sir. Can I ask you a quick question, Mr. Tony? The Igbo area having 5 states as opposed to 6.
Yes.
Would you truncate their space to be even smaller in order to create a 6th state, or would you take another state from elsewhere, another area, to add to that state in order to make it even? And together, if we're looking at homogeny, if we look at both Kogi and Kwara, these states, if you put them together, the majority is Yoruba in those states. Should they also now join, because we are all Yoruba, even though obviously there are other ethnicities there, but they are majority Yorubas, so that would make 8 states. I mean, are we trying to make sense of nation building, or are we just grabbing at the purse strings?
No, I'm just trying to highlight, the injustices and things that can push people to begin to make such demands. That's why I use the South East as the case in point. I mean, it's well known that the Southeast, has been marginalized, even if you look at what the issue I just raised. And so there's a sense in which to say, if they're saying we want to get out of Nigeria, they have a point, because they can point to issues. I don't even want to mention the Civil War and the problems that the Civil War brought upon them. But if you come to Yoruba land, I'm not a Yoruba person, although I grew up in Yoruba land. You like Electric has said, he did mention, I mean, they have the president. So it's it looks funny that even though they have the president, you still have a cry that they want to pull out of the nation. So you want to ask, what's the reason? What's the point? Why do they want to pull out? Even though I concede that move, that call, has been on even before the president came in. But what are the reasons for this move? Because if you compare it to that of the Igbos, for instance, who are asking for a state, for a Biafra or whatever, you can see they can give you, a lot of reasons why they want to, because they've been unfairly treated and they are not, well represented, and so on and so forth. So, but to deal specifically with the question you asked, the arrangement, the political arrangement that we have in the country is, you can't have a perfect arrangement. You have, for instance, Andoni used to be in Delta, in the area where is now Delta State. It was moved to River State. You have Igbo community in Kogi. So are you going to bring them to the Southeast? You have Ijaws in Ondo. You have Ijaws in Delta. You have in Rivers. You have in Bayelsa. You have in Akwa Ibom. I think you may have them also, yeah, elsewhere. So are you going to, so that arrangement is if you were to do it that way, it's not going to work. It's going to create confusion. But the point here is, just to come back to the issues. These are part of, the colonial hangover of, bringing people together and putting them in places and geographical boundaries that are not in tandem. I mean, there are some Nigerian communities that are in Cameroon. They were formerly in Nigeria, and then eventually Bakassi area and so on, and now they are in Cameroon. So if you go, these are some of the disasters that was brought upon us by the colonial people. But we have managed to coexist. So my question is really, if the reason for the move for people to pull out of Nigeria is as a result of injustice or, to their various communities, isn't there a way that we can really sit down and begin to see how we can address these issues? So it becomes a question of leadership. It becomes an issue of leadership. What can leadership do to be able to assuage all these cries and all these calls in such a way that people will have a sense of belonging, and so can fully participate and contribute, to the growth of the nation.
Okay, let me put Jago, I will answer your question. Let me put this to us, gentlemen. In a constituency, or in a constituency, whichever one is correct, we just don't have one tribe living there. We have several tribes living in that constituency. So the Yoruba man or the Igbo man saying that they are being marginalized in that constituency, whereby the issue is affecting everyone. How does that sit well if they now decide to go to, they break up and they go to their own nation? And you are not able to address because this is the problem that is plaguing Nigeria today. If the Yoruba breaks away, the Igbos, the Biafra breaks away, the John Nation breaks away, that problem will not go away. That problem will still be there, which is transparency, accountability, fairness, equity, and good leadership. It ain't gonna go. So it's the same principle that will be used to resolve the problem that is plaguing Nigeria. It's the same principle that will be applied. So why can't we just apply that principle? Why don't we push for that principle to be applied in Nigeria?
But do you not believe that we've had more than enough time to put that principle in place and it hasn't happened? This is the reality. It just hasn't happened.
What do you mean that we've had enough time to put that principle in
60
place?
years,
How do
brother.
we put the principle?
I understand what you're saying.
Example.
No. I understand what you're saying. And Nigeria, over the last 60 years, if not much longer, has formed a country where it doesn't matter where you are in the country, you are going to be mixing with other ethnicities. I think that's correct. Now, with that, you are saying that we need to apply certain principles that offers fairness, not perfection, just fairness. And the rule of law to every citizen of the nation.
Correct.
You and I know that has not been achieved. We've had it better at certain times. We've had it really terrible at other times. But basically, we can all see that fairness is not being conducted in this country. Whatever the government and the elite may do or have for themselves as special conditions, at least they should be able to satisfy the rest of the polity. But they don't care about the rest of the polity. So again, I ask you, for the sake of fairness or the sake of, if we had small, and this is not me pushing for a breakup of Nigeria at all, but it's a question. If we had smaller entities, would it be easier to perform that fairness or not? Is where we are.
Okay. To answer your question, I would say no. Whether it is a
Already?
small entity or it is a big entity, I would say no. Because to practice fairness is not dependent on how big or how small the entity is. For example, this is a platform. If we don't practice fairness here, as let's just say between the three of us, and we have a big entity, we are not going to be able to practice fairness. But if we are able to practice fairness, to uphold it to the very letter, when we have a big entity, we will also be able to practice that fairness. Because why? It's the same principle. There's going to be hiccups. It's the same principle that we will use, we will apply. It's like the judiciary, okay, or just the courts, okay. So if the judge is biased and that biasness is not addressed at that very moment within the court, okay, and those in the top, in the up section there, do not address it, the biasness will go round. So if you address it in that lower court, it will take effect in the upper court. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. We have a small entity here.
I do understand what you're saying, but again, I'm not sure, and I do understand what you're saying from the point of principle. And when you give the example of the three of us here, easy to manage. There are principles laid down. If the platform grew now and there's now 8 or 10, if the same principles are applied, it's the principle that has the mark. However, we all know that even on this platform, by the time 10 people are here, it changes. The atmosphere changes. It does, bro. It does. Let's be honest.
The atmosphere changes is because we do not enforce the law. Sorry, Mr. Tony. It's because we do not apply, we do not enforce the law. You see, our problem is
no. I disagree.
Huh?
I disagree, bros. I mean, we are having a fair conversation now between the three of us. Nobody's stretching for the mic. Nobody's rushing. There's no dictatorship going on by the moderator because he's finding it difficult to manage a bigger group. That's not going on. It's a fair discussion where if you have more to say, myself and Tony would listen. If Tony has more to say, me and you would listen, and all around. But that doesn't happen when there's 10 people on there unless we are all extremely well behaved. Now, I'll give you this example.
Jago, hold on 1 second. Mr. Tony, we are 10 people here now. We are 3 people here now. We have the old time to go around. In fairness, Jago spoke. I give you the floor to speak. I speak. We have 10 people, and we now allocate time to each other, 5 or 3 minutes each. If we all abide by that 3 minutes, now there's going to be lapses of some people will go for 5 minutes, which the moderator may allow. Are we not going to have decency on the platform?
Yeah, that's why the moderator is there. The reason why we have a moderator is that you might have 1 or 2 people who have a tendency to speak more than, or to take more than is allotted to them, and then so that creates a problem. So, but once the moderator is there, his role is to make sure that there's order and everybody adheres strictly to the timelines and so on and so forth. I think that the moderator will stand like a leader, and so once you have a leader who ensures that there's fairness, there's justice, there's equity, everything works well. And that's the problem I think that we have in Nigeria. Take Switzerland, for instance. It's not as big as Nigeria, but you have Italians, you have French, you have all sorts of people there. You have cantons there. But it is structured in such a way that leadership goes round to every section. And so there's harmony, there's peace. And once people see that there's fairness, there's justice, the tendency for people to feel marginalized or to feel that they are not well treated will not be there. Take Yugoslavia, for instance, or take
I was just about to say that.
Take the Czech Republic. I mean, they've all gone. There's no country now like Czechoslovakia. There's no country now like Yugoslavia. They've broken all, down to peace. How well are they doing? Or even let's come home. Take Sudan, for instance, from where you have South Sudan.
Wrong example.
Yes. Did this solve the problem? Is South Sudan doing well?
No,
of course. They have fuel. I mean, they have crude. Sudan has crude. So there's a basic problem that we have. This penchant for let us break down. Maybe if we break down, we'll manage well, and so on and so forth. It's not established that if we disintegrate, there's no proof that if we now disintegrate to tribal ethnicities and so on, that will do well. There's no tangible proof that that's going to happen. But that's the truth. Beyond the sentiments.
You're
Because
correct, Mr. Tony.
yes, but I always think that the more the merrier. I mean, look at America.
I think, if I may, you see, Africa is a different proposition, completely different proposition than anywhere else in the world. And because we don't really, as said by electricity earlier, what is the point in real terms of going to England to beg, which is what it is, whatever, for England to get involved in Yoruba nation building? Bullshit, rubbish. However, as you cited, Europe, the homogeny of those people who broke up and disintegrated into their own homogeneous zones and called it their countries, those countries have performed well in two areas of Europe where they had expanse, where there was kingship, where there was a large authority holding it over different peoples. This took place. America is an experiment, and the experiment says that we white people are ahead. We're running things. We're the most brilliant. We're the most clever. We're doing everything. So you lot just stay in your corner until we're ready to raise you. It's completely different history, completely different maxim. For us in Africa, who in a case of Nigeria and so many other African countries, where so many ethnicities were lumped together, it's not the ethnicities alone that were the problem. I think, just like you, and I'm sure electricity, our different electricities, our different ethnicities is our power. However, because I suppose of just the state of being a human being, the fracture of corruption and unfairness and me has taken place. That is the situation that we have in Nigeria. But I think there's a consensus between the three of us whereby we don't want Nigeria to break up. That's not what we are positing. But we know that it's a probability, or indeed the question is one that has to be challenged. You're challenged by that question.
Yeah, I agree essentially with what you're saying. And what beats me is that if you look at Africa, there's this cry for, for secession. People want to break out, whether it's Cameroon, you have a move in Cameroon. The English-speaking want to break out. And what's their reason? They have been marginalized by the Francophone speaking. But Paul Biya, has been there for how many years, and we hear that he's been there for a long time. So that part which was formerly in Nigeria, they want what's the place called Ambasonia or whatever. They want to break out. The move has been on for a while. You go to Senegal, Casamance, you go to Anjouan, you go to almost everywhere in Africa. And when you look closely, you find out that Mali, you find out that part of the reason is people saying they're being marginalized. They don't feel a sense of belonging to the country. Take Tanzania, for instance. Tanzania, is made up of the island and the mainland, Zanzibar and Tanganyika. Both of them came together and they became Tanzania. and they have one political party. One political party. And leadership was structured in such a way that if the president comes from the mainland, the next, after his tenure expires, the next president will come from the island, from Zanzibar. Zanzibar is essentially Muslim, predominantly Muslim, and the island, the mainland is basically, Christian and traditional, people. And they have managed to keep that country going. One of the most stable politically and peaceful country in Africa. And it's landlocked. They are not as
No,
rich.
they're not landlocked though. They have coast.
Tanzania? Yes, in Zanzibar. Okay, Zanzibar. Okay.
No, not Zanzibar. Tanzania itself is on the coast.
No.
Yes, sir.
Is it?
I'm a geographist.
Okay, sorry, pardon me. So you find out, but in terms of natural endowment, they are not as rich as Nigeria. But they've managed to push on. They've managed to move on.
Sorry.
Yes. So you begin to wonder what's the problem with Nigeria? What's the problem with us? Why can't we coexist together? Why has 64 years after independence, we're still talking about issues of marginalization when some people are going to space. Some people are
my big brother. You see, I want to make a suggestion. Everything you're saying is valid, but we're at the point where this has been going on for a long time, an awfully long time. I'm of an age now where when I was a young boy, I knew Nigeria was going to develop and get itself together. I knew it mainly through emotion. However, I come to the place where I've nearly given up on that dream. Nearly, I must say, because Nigeria has been the bane of my disturbance in my life. No matter where I am in the world, no matter where I am, it's disturbing me. Now, when I look at Africa, I look at certain countries that had really great first leaders. The first president of Ghana was Kwame Nkrumah. And whilst they couldn't handle him, which is the international world and many of the corrupt people because they had a good leader, just like I think electricity was saying, principles were laid down. So by memory, Ghana was able to go there at least to keep some level of peace and tranquility in the country. If they're not economically viable or economically strong or economically savvy, they still have peace in their nation. Tanzania that you mentioned, it's another country that had a fantastic first leader, Nyerere. I believe strongly, as much as I really liked the mannerism of what's his name, man? Our first leader. Sorry, can you help me?
Balewa, Tafawa Balewa.
Tafawa Balewa, thank you. I liked the guy's mannerism. I liked his presidential stand. I liked that he had great diction, fantastic diction. I couldn't believe hearing him speak. But he wasn't the best leader for our country. The best leader, I believe, for our country at that time was the one who was most proven beforehand, and that was Awolowo. If Awolowo was the first leader of our country, we would have had a memory, we would have had a standard, we would have had principles.
Ojukwu called him the president that we didn't have.
There you go. It's not that I'm saying something that is.
Okay, let me ask this: what did he do differently?
I think because he wasn't the president or the prime minister, he was even satisfied to come back and be the opposition. But what he did in 5 years in the Western region, it was fantastic. I don't care what anyone got to. Bruh, I've traveled Nigeria. And when I went to the East, I knew that this is not one country. It's not one country. When I went to the North, it was another level again. This is not one country. It's just not one country. So what was done in the West, if that was done throughout the whole nation, I think that at least there would have been a standard level of what it is to be a Nigerian. Right now, what it is to be a Nigerian is still based on our ethnicity, as opposed to the principle of law and order.
But let me, if you don't mind, my brother, let me just come in. Awolowo was a technocrat. He was one who believed he had a vision. I mean, you could see his vision, all laid out, tested, and he was able to assemble men and women to push that dream into fruition. So he was clear ahead of all his peers, Zeke, Sadwana, and so on and so on. I mean that should not be an issue that we should argue about. But there's something else, a negative, and that was if you go to the history of how tribalism came into Nigeria, it was Awolowo. So that was
negative. They do say that. They do say that. But I think I think the word tribalism, I think, is misunderstood. I think that's the way Nigeria is set up.
No. I'm talking about tribalism. I'm talking about tribalism in politics. This is quite clear. I mean,
no. If I could put this to you, sir, I just want to say I'm not tearing away what you're saying. All I'm putting to you is that is the way the country was set up. 1, 2, what Awolowo did for the Yorubas, it should have been done by each of the areas for their people. That will bring up a measure of level. Now,
Awolowo challenged. I mean, Awolowo was like a pace setter for all the others. I mean, that's the truth. Every other person saw what he was doing, and so they went back to their states and tried to use their resources. So it was basically his vision, sort of, that, and that's what I'm saying. That's how you know a leader. A leader influences.
Can I ask you? Are you a tribalist? Do you think you're a tribalist?
No, I am not. I'm sorry I used that word tribalist because I have long time I have edited that from my lexicon. I prefer to use the word ethnic, because tribe, has some. This is a colonial, cliche that I quarrel with. So because you hardly would see the West use tribes to describe their own people, So I think ethnicity is more acceptable for me. Yes, yes, we have different ethnicities in Nigeria.
What would you say? Are you a tribalist?
Come again?
Yes, I said yes. We have different ethnic groups in Nigeria, but those.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I didn't get what you said.
No, I've heard you, sir. I've heard you very well. I wanted to hear whether or not electricity saw himself. Yeah, I wanted to find out. I asked Tony just now whether or not he sees himself as a tribalist. He basically said no. Do you see yourself as a tribalist?
First, we need to define what does it mean to be a tribalist.
Are you hearing me?
I'm hearing, but you out.
My brother, answer the question.
No, honestly, I don't know. What does it mean to be a tribalist?
Okay.
I don't know. I'm being honest with you. What does it mean? I come from a tribe. I mean, but what does it mean to be a tribalist?
Well, I mean, we use, as my brother said, we use terms. We use.
Jagun, your network.
Well, that is a good question, to be frank. Because I tell you why. I see myself as a tribalist, and for me, what
does it mean to be a tribalist, Jagun?
Oh, really?
Your network is not that great. I'm dipping in. You are dipping in and now, so I'm not really following.
To me, if I can be heard, to be a. Yeah, I'm going in and out. Am I? Sorry about that.
I don't know whether it's your hand or my hand, but you're going in.
Shall I come out and come back?
Okay. You really need to come back and come and define this tribalist. What does it mean to be a tribalist? Okay, just
it's mine. I think it's mine.
Okay. Mr. Tony, before Jago comes back, I don't know if you understand what it means by what does it mean by a tribalist. It's an interesting. Honestly, hands up. I don't know what it means to be a tribalist. Honestly speaking, I want to know.
When someone is called a tribalist, I don't think it's more of a derogatory accolade to say you are a tribalist. It means that you essentially look. I mean, we all come from a place. I mean, we come from an ethnic group. But when you call someone a tribalist, you are not just referring to where he comes from. You are referring to his attitude and his worldview. You are saying that this is someone who is narrow-minded and who is limited in terms of his thinking and his attitude and behavior to just his own people. And in a country like Nigeria, if you have that kind of view, that's narrow-minded. I was brought up. Most of my friends are Yoruba. You know, I have run.
Lucky you, sir. Very lucky for you.
yeah, true. Most of my good friends.
I'm only joking.
Yeah, most of my not just friends, good friends. Good friends that I can eat and drink and I can go to a battle with my eyes closed. You know, some of them are Yorubas. You know, I have done business with houses. You know, so and I have schooled with them. So I don't think that the problem is basically with where the individual comes from. I think the problem is with orientation in our environment.
Very correct.
And the sad thing is that those who are supposed to use this to bring the country together, like our elites and politicians, when they begin to fail, they are quick to go down to such mundane and such hateful things like using ethnicity and using religion, and they have been there since. And these are things that are supposed to help us. I mean, if I speak Yoruba, for instance, I speak Yoruba very well, you know, because I was born there. I got married there. I schooled there. My wife schooled in Yoruba land. My children schooled in Yoruba land. I have done my business in Yoruba land. You know, I have, by God's grace, I have property in Yoruba land. I have mixed with them. You know, I've integrated with them. So,
and it's your full right.
Yes. So, and this is Nigeria, and I have people who also from Yoruba land who are related to me in that way. You know, so I see them as my brothers. You know,
absolutely.
In fact,
I like you.
Those of us who are outside, when we see a Nigerian, we don't think in terms of where you come from. The first thing we don't. You're a Nigerian. Oh, that's my brother. You know. So, yes. So. You know, the same thing when if you see an Hausa man and you speak Hausa to him, oh, there's a sense of feeling of belongingness that language, you know, but just your mere speaking it, even though you are not Hausa, conveys.
Yes.
You know, so these things are supposed to be strength for us. But I think the critical issue is that we can't run away from, you know. I give you two. Again, I've made this example before using Botswana, for instance. This was a country that gained independence in 1966. Botswana is a small country, population about 2.5 or 2.7 million. Okay, not as ethnically diverse as Nigeria, but they have at least not less than 10 ethnic groups. They have a majority ethnic group, which is the Swana. It's landlocked.
Yeah.
They like Nigeria is almost a mono economy. I mean, in the sense that just like Nigeria has crude, I mean, they have the main, you know, petroleum as the main foreign exchange earner. Botswana has diamond. And at 1966, when that country gained independence from Britain, You know, you will not believe that they didn't have even a single university.
They didn't.
One university they didn't have. And
they used to go into South Africa and
yes.
the shoot to go to
Yes, they are landlocked, yes. And I think that they didn't even have, if at all, as much as 5 university graduates, if at all they had. So when Seretse Khama was the first president, and so the challenge that he faced was, how do we haven't gained independence? How are we going to push this country, this little country, you know, in a way that, you know, people will feel the gains of self-government, of ruling themselves, because they didn't have the resources. So he identified education as a very, very critical factor, you know, in nation building. And one factor to quickly help that country, you know, to move ahead. You know, in Nigeria, with our independence, Balewa identified electricity as something. So he took a World Bank loan, you know, with which Kanji was built. Okay, and in Botswana, the vision was education. So how did they get the money? Balewa took World Bank loan. What did Botswana do? They didn't take loan. They didn't go to the bank. They didn't.
One man, one cow.
Yes, one man, one cow. That's what
honestly, sorry for interjecting. When I heard that story, honestly, initially I didn't believe it. I have to be honest with you. Initially, I didn't believe it. Honestly, one man, one family. Is a family, one cow. And that is why I'm telling you, Jagun.
So you can see the vision.
If we put our mind and our heart
I agree. Yes,
we will achieve it. If we stop,
I mean, it is a fantastic story. It's a honestly, you know, sorry. It is a fantastic story about Botswana. I wanted to give a different glint on this thing called tribalism. I think in Africa, tribes are seemingly given to us as to who our people are. Now, some of us can look at that negatively. Some of us can look at it deeply in a biblical term. And I prefer to choose the latter. I feel it's of honor to be of a tribe. I feel it's part of one's pride and heritage, and one must try to keep it. And I feel I'm a tribalist. There's no one who's taking anything away from me as to being Yoruba. I know the depth of it and I love it. And within the other peoples that I come across, just like yourself, Tony, most of my friends of Niger, they're Igbos. The majority of them are Igbos. I get on with them. We go deep. We chop together. We do business together. We get on with it. You understand? We get on with it, man. No mucking around. And I like that attitude. And I don't know if it's essentially your Igbo attitude, but they are the people who I've gravitated to around this thing. So as Nigeria as a whole, I see the power in that country from every individual ethnicity. Now, when somebody like Seretse Khama of Botswana headed for education, and Awolowo did exactly the same in the Western region, this was the way to go. This was simply the way to go. Right now in Botswana, they have free education from primary to tertiary. It's fantastic. They pay the students to go to school.
Yeah, that's the beautiful thing. You
it's
know,
beautiful.
Monthly, you are paid $154 monthly to go to school.
Monthly.
I think I better relocate there and go and finish my school.
And so why wouldn't that encourage people? Encourage people to go to school.
Why waste my time on this platform?
I'm telling you, bro. If you see the infrastructure that they have put into that country, it makes so much sense. It's clean, beautiful terrain. Beautiful.
So today, the countries that are doing well are countries that have seen knowledge-based
beginnings.
Yes, as the fundamental way to drive development.
Yes.
You know, so
Yeah.
so.
But Mr. Tony and Jago, are we suggesting that we don't have the amount of knowledge that Nigerians have or that Nigerians possess is enough to build a castle up in mass? Why are we not using that knowledge?
You see, these are the deep questions, bro. You know, we challenge ourselves to these deep questions every time we're on the panel.
Let me tell you a story. The guy is late now. Is one of those Nigerians who he was sent on scholarship by the Eastern Nigerian government before the war. When you had Eastern Nigeria, was sent on a scholarship to the UK. And then he studied, and then there was the war, but he was able to study, and he got a PhD engineering, something to do with atomic, you know. So he was working in the Ministry of MOD in the UK, and he's late now. Very brilliant, very cerebral. For years, you know, since he left in I think about 65 or 64. His brothers, his mother, they thought he was dead. But he was deeply engaged in such activities that it was difficult for him to come home. He was doing well. He lived in a place where he probably was one of the 2 black people then in the UK who lived in that area. And so when eventually he was, my late cousin, who was his classmate, you know, now got him to come and visit Nigeria because they thought that he's there, you know, to come and visit Nigeria and see his old mother and his brothers and so on and so forth. And he came and we got talking. And we're saying, why not come to Nigeria and so on and so forth? You live big, you know, you ride a big car in the UK, you live in Stevenage, you know, this wonderful place, and you know, and yet he says, listen, I would like to come, but if I come, I'll be useless. Because the system can't accommodate me, they cannot pay me. I'll die of frustration. So the best I can do is to probably come and, you know, train people and teach, you know, seminars and hold and then go back. But, you know, he had become totally a white man. He had become, his orientation was British.
My goodness, my.
In fact,
you tell a story of a wise man. You really do. Because my father,
yes,
he had that same experience. He came here on a scholarship. He was at King's College in Nigeria, scholarship all the way through. He came here, he was at Cambridge scholarship. He finished up, he went to Thames Water Authority, and he was a biochemist engineer with the Thames Water Authority. He was responsible for the Thames barrier. If you see if you know London, you know the Thames barrier. Back in the early 80s, that was complete. When he finished that, he decided to go back to Nigeria. He had all the plans to organize pipe-borne water for the whole of Lagos. That's what he went to do. But the fact is, what you said about that gentleman that couldn't be accommodated into the Nigerian space was exactly the same as my father. When they frustrated him for about 14 years, he came back, he had 2 strokes, and he died. That was my dad. It was better, you know, obviously we wanted him here, but it was almost better that he stayed here and didn't ever try, which is the shame of our position.
Yeah. So to answer your question, Electric, you know, that's the problem. But I believe, you know, we have enough people within and outside Nigeria that, given the right environment, you know, given the right leadership, can turn things around for the country. We have a lot of them. And I haven't lost hope. Because like I said, in the platform, one of the platform, for me, for those of us who are outside, who have acquired some competencies and are contributing, to the environment where we find ourselves. I think for Nigeria, it may be brain drain, but I think it's brain gain eventually. We're just waiting to see a leadership that will appreciate that you have this mass of Nigerians and talents outside that can contribute effectively.
Absolutely.
But if you don't have the environment, nobody wants to come here and
it is about environment. So can I ask both of you this question? As it wasn't time for your good friend, and he knew it, and my father, who wanted to push ahead anyway, do you think it's time now, in that the economy is in such a place where if we're bringing currency from outside into Nigeria, that in itself would bolster the economy in Nigeria? It puts an advantage to us who have traveled into Nigeria by way of the practices that we want to do. Me personally, I've galvanized 15 of my Jammu and Caribbean friends. And I've done so because they're experts in artisanry, bricklaying, building, conditioning, air conditioning, heating, these hand businesses. And that's where, when I go to Nigeria, employing an artisan is almost a waste of time. I might as well try and do it myself because they're no good. And I want to bring my boys in order to train people and to set up schools and to set up a company that would work and train people. Now, I feel that over the next 5 years, no matter what government is there, we need to be going back home regardless. Because, for us, to be frank, living in Nigeria won't be as hard for us as everybody else who's living there. If you got sterling or if you got dollars, you're in a strong position, very strong position. So I just wanted to put that forward and see what people thought about that.
Yeah, I concur. Let me say that if you look at the foreign exchange profile of Nigeria in terms of the inflow of foreign capital, diaspora remittances, I think it's second
Absolutely
to oil in terms of
it's above oil. It's above oil.
Yes,
yeah.
In terms of receipts, so they are contributing enormously. But you see, if we have a leader that can harness all this and properly channel them and direct them, Nigeria is a great country. Nigeria is going to be great. So again, for me, no matter how you look at it, leadership is critical. Leadership is critical. And I can tell you, the government can call and beg and plead for the Nigerians in diaspora to come home. A lot of them won't, because you don't have the environment is not hospitable for them to unleash their competencies in a way that is going to help Nigeria grow. Because this is just the infrastructure. There's a decay of infrastructure. It's people come with the good intention to help, to contribute, and they come home and they're disappointed, and they have to go back, and that's the reality of the situation. So you can have these good ideas and to help and all that, but the system, is not ready. The system is not such that will assist. I mean, look at the Konjo Iwealas, look at the Magnus Bako, Adesina, and so on, who came, left their jobs, came, Obasanjo sought them, and they came to contribute.
Yes.
And they did try their best, but they met a lot of opposition. They met a lot of opposition. The OBS is a Kwesili, and so on and so forth. So that's the challenge. That's the challenge. Unless you have a leadership that is ready to lead,
My brother,
and then a followership that will recognize that, listen,
yes,
we must forgo this chop.
I have to ask you both, and starting with electricity, this leadership thing. Mio, I've looked. Oh. I can't see somebody who can lead that country. I have not been able to eke them out from wherever they are. Can any of you two really see a leader? I can't. I would like to be inspired by what you might say.
The fact that we don't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
True. That's what I'm asking.
Listen, it does exist. You see,
it does exist.
If you are a well-trained pilot and you are given a plane that is old, not properly maintained to fly, there's nothing you can do. It will crash. It will crash. It won't take you to your destination.
You see, this is why I'm always proposing complete structural demolition in that country. I am, because I can't see it working. I can't see it working with this structure. I can't see it. I can't see it, and I'm looking to see it because I want to go home. If Tinubu was my man, I'll be at home. If Tinubu was really somebody I felt can do something in that country that makes sense, I'll be in Nigeria. But he's the arc opposite of what I feel a leader should be.
Don't you think we are being unfair if we put the entire problem on Tinubu? Sorry,
no, we
Tinubu.
are. That's why I'm too consistent.
Yeah,
it's T-Pain, Jago.
No.
It's called T-Pain, not Tinubu.
I agree.
That's why I'm speaking system and not necessarily individual. Because I think if the system is broken down, real leaders will come up. Real leaders will come out.
I agree with you when you say we shouldn't put the entire blame on Tinubu, because that's what we're doing now. Tinubu. You see, and somebody has said, although I don't agree with the person, that even if you bring Jesus down from heaven,
I don't like that. I don't like that analogy. I don't like that comparison at all.
I don't agree with that. That is
I don't agree with that too, but
yeah, because that's an insult of my.
It is
an insult of my God. I'm on a program. That's an insult on my God. So I don't agree with that. But I think what they're trying to say is that even if you bring the best person, but I don't agree with that. What I agree with is that yes, the system is decayed. But again, if you look at Singapore, you look at Malaysia, you look at Japan, Emperor Meiji, you look at Lu Kuan Yew, you look at even China, Mao, Zedong, and some of the African countries that we have talked about, Tanzania, Mwalimu, and what he did. Or you look at Seretse Khama that we're talking about. These were leaders that had a vision. When Julius Nyerere came, he looked at the Western type of democracy and all that is there. He decided to invent his own indigenous African democracy, Ujamaa, that he called authentic African democracy. A blend of socialism and African communal way of life. And then that's what Tanzania has been running on. Okay, and that country at least has been stable. My daughter, was going on a research with her schoolmates to Tanzania from the US. Then she was carrying a Nigerian passport. And then they gave everybody visa. They refused her passport, even though she had a resident status at the time. And so the school wrote to say, why? I mean, she's in this school and they're going on research to Tanzania. Why are you refusing? Say, oh, is that Nigerian? The school had to prevail on them to give her a visa. And they did. And I was very, very hot because I was wondering, what's the problem? I mean, what's the problem? But that's
Aye.
how
So just being a Nigerian now is a
that's
crime.
being a Nigerian.
It's a crime, oh. It's a crime, oh, my brother.
So you begin
I'm
to
telling
see,
you.
yes. So you begin to see where the problem. You begin to see the problem because there's a stench that they have attached to not just our passport, but to every Nigerian, irrespective of who that Nigerian is. So I think there's a need to begin to rebuild, we need to really truly restructure. We need to begin within ourselves to decide.
Let me ask us a question here. Based on this story you just gave now, would you agree with me that some of us are also responsible for the way they treat us outside the world, given to how we ourselves also condemn and portray Nigeria, even on this platform, where some of us will come and say Nigeria is a useless country, Nigeria will never be better, Nigeria is in fact, some of us have used worse word than the one Donald Trump used as a shito country. Would you agree with me that we also are contributing factor to this problem?
Can I go first, Tony?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead, bro.
Thank you. You see, I know what angle you come from, electricity, when you ask that question. I feel strongly that you are a solid backer of Nigeria, whatever. You would never necessarily release it. But I would put this to you, brother, that Nigeria has caused some people pain and death. There has been pain and death because of Nigeria in my family. Now, it's not because it's not that I don't have pride. I have pride. But I can't but tell the truth. I can't but say that, look at this situation. There's a thing right now where Nigeria has a lot of kudos through its diaspora in terms of our food, our fashion, our personalities, our education, our men, our women. Right now, over the world, we are trending at a really high level in terms of soft power. So I would say yes, it's our fault positively or negatively. And it comes from the steering of our leadership, as has been said, is very important. The fact of the matter is, there are more pluses as to Nigerians' utterances that lift the country than there are minuses, is what I would suggest. I end.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I agree. I agree, Jagan, with the things that you have said here, and I think three of us are quite in agreement in terms of the issues that we're discussing this evening. And to not to stray too far away from our discussion, I think that if I look at Obi's approach, I'm a fan of Obi. And he has always said, listen, there's nothing wrong for people to dissent. We can't all agree or see things in the same way. So, and that's human nature. But the point is that we still need to sit down and look at respect people's opinion, even though we disagree with them. With respect to Igboho, if Obi had said that, listen, this is how you deal with dissent and with issues like this, invite them. Don't alienate them. Don't threaten them. Sit down with them. What is your problem? What is the issue? And we can sit down and talk about it. Okay? And just like the government tries to do with some Boko Haram elements that they reintegrated and all that, we can sit down. We can sit down with Nnamdi Kanu. I don't see anything wrong with government saying, for instance, okay, if possible, issuing a mandamus, and saying no more prosecution of this guy. Free the guy, sit down with him, and let's talk. What's the problem? What's the issue? What can we do to
Mr.
end
Tony,
this?
Mr. Tony, I'm going to stop you there. I want you to hold that thought for Friday.
Okay.
Because we'll be discussing that on Friday.
Okay, good. But
It's set up for Friday. Just hold that thought for Friday. Okay.
But generally, what I'm saying, this restiveness that we see all over across the country, leadership will do well. It's no weakness. Leadership will do well to say, listen, invite these people. I grant you amnesty. Invite these people. Let us sit down and talk, one-on-one. That was how Yar'Adua resolved the Niger Delta crisis. Sit down with them. Let's sit down, because they are also Nigerians. Let's sit down and find out, how can we meet ourselves? How can we solve this problem for the good of the nation? So this whole idea of using force, threatening this person, looking for him, arresting him or extraditing this one or doing that, may not be. You have to employ a carrot and stick approach, to solve these issues, so that the country can move forward, because the country is bleeding from some of the things that we do. And they don't give Nigeria a good image. This is a country that is blessed, richly blessed. Richly blessed.
In fact, I won't use the word richly blessed. If there's another word better than richly blessed or bigger than richly blessed, I will use it. And that is what breaks most of our heart.
Endowed.
We have the weather alone. Just the weather alone, the dry and the rainy season and the harmattan alone, it's beyond. But like I've always had an argument is, if we resolve the issue of electricity, at least to 50% production electricity, we've resolved the major problem of that country. If we have electricity, because everything, or most things, I beg your pardon, is dependent on electricity. Most things, even sitting down here talking right now, is dependent on electricity. So we need that. And this is why I get angry with those agitating for their own succession and whatever. Because by the time you go, you will need electricity as well. You have to create that. You have to make it work there. So sometimes I don't understand what they're after. We all want the same thing. Jago, let's say you're an Igbo man. You're an Igbo, okay, you're Yoruba man. Mr. Tony, you're an Igbo man. I am an Laosa man. If I ask every one of us, who does not want electricity here? Raise your hand up.
But the question has always been leadership. I mean, we started from ECN. From ECN we went to NEPA. From NEPA we went to PHCN.
Power holding company.
We went to PHCN. From PHCN now we have gone to Discos and Gencos and so on. And still the problem is not solved. And so much money has been sunk into that industry. And yet there's deregulation and so on. But it's not the fact, the point is not that this is rocket science. It's not, because we've seen other countries do it.
It's not rocket science at all.
Yeah, so what is wrong with us?
There's a lot wrong. There's a lot wrong. I mean, we've made mention of many things, but I'll put this to you today. I don't know if anybody has had a look at the meeting that carried on, I think it was 2 or 3 days ago, where the World Bank had come to Nigeria to speak to, it was one Indian guy speaking to and I listened to every word.
Don't even say that. Don't say that, because when I heard it, it will take 10 to 15 years.
That's right. But you see, one, we're hearing from the World Bank, so we know we have to listen with keen ears. But two, this Indian man, it seemed to me that no matter the game he might be playing, I felt he had a lot of love and respect for Nigeria. And he delivered the truth in the best way he possibly could from his position. So what he was saying is that, look, man, what I liked, you see, when Obasanjo came into power and he negotiated with the Paris Club and things came back, when Nigeria was at that level, what I felt is that Nigeria shouldn't go backwards from this point. But in my mind's mind, I knew that they would. Now we're talking about less than 20 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, that this was done. And what Obasanjo set up was something similar to what Norway had done. And the guy was telling us that if this maintained itself, where we are today would have been completely different. And I believe that. Economically, we would have been there would have been no time for anyone doing rubbish, because our country would have grown a sovereign wealth to about 100 billion, if not more. Then he spoke about the losses that were taking place over the things that have happened. And they were talking about $50 billion lost. Where's $50 billion gone? Nobody's even looking for it. I mean, it's just incredible.
You've forgotten that the lion, the snake and the monkeys. Anyway, gentlemen, tomorrow is another day. Friday is also another day. Friday, it's very important. Every of the broadcast is important, but tomorrow we'll be doing more on the religion aspect. But Friday is going to be a very good, hot debated topic here. And people are going to exchange blows. I hope it doesn't come to that point. I hope it doesn't come to that point. But I'm looking at some individuals coming, and they're not yet. We're still in that process. But either way, this show will go on Friday. I would like to thank you, gentlemen. And those of you in the comment section, I would like to thank you for joining this evening broadcast. And I hope to see you tomorrow again, God willing. So have a lovely night. And
well done, Electricity.
Thank you, my brother.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, my brother.
Thank you so much for watching. Thank you. Have you subscribed? Yes, you. Have you subscribed? You. Yeah, before you go, click. It's free. Click. Just that's it. Have you subscribed? You are laughing. Have you subscribed? Have you subscribed? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, madam. Thank you so much. I can see you. We have to get to 100,000 subscribers. By the end of the year, how are we going to do that if you don't subscribe? Yes, you. Yes, you're about to click off. Why? Have you subscribed? It's free. If you don't, ask your son, ask your daughter how to. Just one click. Thank you. Thank you. I see you. Aha. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'll see you tomorrow.
Our heroes past shall never be in vain. To serve with heart and might, one nation bound in freedom, peace and unity. Hey, that's so. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Arise, O compatriots. Nigeria call obey to serve our fatherland with love and strength and faith. The labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain. To serve with heart and might, one nation bound in freedom.